But we're up to the Mishnah on the bottom of Daf Tzadi Tes. Ba'isha shenis arev v'loda b'vlad kalosa. So we have now another case. You remember we've been discussing the last couple of sugyas, taroves, where we don't know exactly who is the mother, who are the parents of this vlad. So now we have a mixture of the vlad of a woman together with the vlad of her daughter-in-law. So she gave birth, a mother-in-law, and the daughter-in-law gave birth. That's not rare, by the way, but it's pretty rare that the babies got mixed up. And now, higdilu hataromos. So let's say there were two boys that were born, and we don't know which one belongs to the daughter-in-law and which to the mother-in-law. And they got older, mature, and they each got married and unfortunately died without children. So now we have these two women who are now both almanos, obviously, they're both widows, and they fall for yibum to the brothers of their respective husbands. And the Mishnah says the following, that Bnei Akala cholzin v'lo miyab. So you know what? We have to emphasize one point, and we've made this point in the past. Sometimes the Gemara doesn't, and here the Mishnah doesn't emphasize that there were another two brothers that were born that were Vada. So we have a definite and we have a suffix. We have a definite Ben Kala and a definite Ben Kamosa, the Ima. But now, we don't know which of the two widows of the Sfeikos, meaning the Suffolk Ben Kala, Ashes Ben Kala, and the Suffolk Ashes Ima, which one of them they should be Choletz. So therefore, what's going to happen is the Bnei Akala Cholzin v'lo miyabnin shu Suffolk Ashes Achiv. This woman, and again, when we say this woman, we could apply it to each woman individually, but let's go one by one. So this woman will take a choice of one of them. We'll say that she is the widow of Reuven, but again, we don't know whether Reuven is the son of the Kala or the son of the mother-in-law. So now the Bnei Akala, who are Vadoim, let's say we know that they are Bnei Akala, they have to give chalitza to the wife of Reuven. Why? Because they don't know, and they can't know, whether this is the alman of their brother, their late brother, because they can't identify the brother. They don't know which one is the brother. And therefore, since it might not be a Yibum situation, it goes back to the old Erev of Ashes Ah. Okay, so he writes here, Isha zu he Suffolk Ashes Achiv. She might be Ashes Achiv, who's Kukal Yibum Menu, but nevertheless, he cannot implement Yibum. And why is that? Because she's also a Suffolk Ashes Achi Aviv. In other words, there's a possibility that her husband is the son of the mother-in-law, which actually would be his grandma. And that's called Ach Aviv. And therefore, Eishes Achi Aviv is an Erva, and there's no Yivam over here. So there's no possibility of Yivam because he might be having a relationship with Eishes Achi Aviv. Ubnei Azkena, what is that banging, by the way? Do we know? And now we'll talk about the definite sons of the mother-in-law. O Cholzin O Miyabin. They have license to be miyabin. Again, that's after the Ben Hakala does chalitza to take off the possibility of a Yivam L'Shuk, and now they could be miyabin. Why? Shesafek Eishes Achiv, the Eishes Ben Achiv. As far as their situation is concerned, this woman is a Safek Eishes Ach, which means that there is Yibum. Or, in the worst case scenario, it's Eishes Ben Ha'ach. And if it's Eishes Ben Ha'ach, she is the daughter of my nephew, then even if there's no Yibum, he's allowed to marry her once they get Chalitza from the Bnei Hakala, because the Chalitza from the Bnei Hakala removed the possibility of Yivam L'Shuk. And once we knock out Yivam L'Shuk, then Miman Shach, he's allowed to marry, he's allowed to have a relationship with this woman. Either the Torah's Yibum, if it's really Eishes Achiv, or even if it's, in the worst case scenario, Eishes Ben Achiv, nevertheless, there's no prohibition. Now he has a diagram here, number Taf Kuf Samach Ches, which I'm trying to find over here. Let me just see. Yeah, here it is. Again, this may or may not be helpful, but I'll just go through it. He says the following. Yaakov Nasa Es Leah. Okay, V'yodalo Es Ruvain V'Shimon. Yaakov is married to Leah, and they have two sons, Ruvain and Shimon. Nasa Ruvain Es Rachel. So Ruvain, one of their two sons, marries Rachel. V'yodalo Es Avram. And now Rachel gives birth to Avram. And all that is definite. Now, Yoldu Leah. Now, Leah means we're going back to the earlier generation, the wife of Yaakov, the mother-in-law. And Rachel, right, because Rachel is married to the son of Leah. That means, in this category, Reuven, in this case. The Yoldu Leah the Rachel. Now again, Rachel is the daughter-in-law of Leah, Leah, Ben Nosaf, and they both of these children, these sons, were b'machbo. They were in a very concealed, dark place. And it's arvu avlodos v'ein yadua imu b'no shel kol achas. Mihu b'no shel kol achas. The godlu b'nei hataroves v'nasa echad mehem es Sarah v'asheni nasa es Rivka. So the b'nei hataroves, when they matured, they married Sarah and Rivka. Umesu b'nei hataroves lo banim v'nafla eshes b'nam shel Yaakov v'Leah. So 1 second, let me get that straight. Lifnei Ruvain v'Shimon How are these related to Reuven and Shimon? Let's see. So again, he says, Umesu bnei taroves, below Banim, of course, Benafla Ashes Benam Yaakov Aleim. Wait a second. Who's Ashes Benam of Yaakov and Leah? I just want to get this straight. Do you gentlemen know what does he mean by Ashes Benam Shel Yaakov Leah? I'm not sure I have. Okay, so I don't want to waste your time. I think what we should do is photocopy this and expand it, and then we'll go through it together. But let's go on in the meantime. Meso Aksherim. So again, until now, the Mishnah addressed the case where the two spekos died, the tarovos. Now, what happens if the ksherim, which are that's another word for vadoim? So we know this one is the daughter, is the son of the mother. We called her Leah, and this one is the son of Rachel. Okay. So those are the vadoim. And now their wives, respectively, are Kukos Liyibum, to the Bnei Tarovas. Hatarovas Livnei Azkena Cholzin V'lo Miyab. Now I see we're going to have to go through this diagram because he keeps using the names. I don't know what to do because we're pressured for time. So what do you suggest we do, Rabbosai? Should we take a break and just photocopy this and expand it so that we can go through it one more time? Because I got stuck halfway through this diagram. Yeah?
You want that bigger for yourself.
Myself and also for you.
Yeah. And because you have.
I'm that small.
You want a bigger one too?
No,
Well, make an extra copy, yes. I actually have. Oh yeah. I happened to see it for once and I never used it. Good. So while we're waiting for Steve, who has kindly, as usual, volunteered to make this photocopy, I would like to share with you an idea that I heard from Rav Soloveitchik many years ago. It's not going to help us in Yevamos, but it'll help us for this week's parsha. It says that Yosef was 17 years old when he was sold as an Eved. And Chazal, and the Ramban expands upon it, says that during those first 17 years of Yosef's life, Yosef was the Ben Zkunim. The Ramban says Ben Zkunim means that he was the student, the disciple of Yaakov. Yaakov transmitted all of his Torah to Yosef. He was the chosen one. He was meant to be like the Rosh Hashiva for the next generation. In Parshas Vayechi, Yaakov comes down to Mitzrayim, and the Pasuk says that he stays in Mitzrayim for 17 years and dies after 17 years. So Rav Soloveitchik was wondering if there's any connection between, number one, the fact that Yosef was 17 years old with his father and he died, and he got sold, and Yaakov was again in touch with and close to his son Yosef for another 17-year period, and it's the same number 17. Is that purely coincidental? So Rav Soloveitchik suggested that Yosef needed his father as a Rebbe in two different periods of his life for two different purposes. The first period of his life, which was 17 years, Yaakov would teach his son Yosef to prepare him for his experience, thank you so much, in Mitzrayim. And that's what we call avdus or shifnus, meaning as a slave, Yosef is going to be faced with many, many challenges, many issues. So he needed his father Yaakov to raise him and to teach him and to prepare him during those first formative 17 years so that Yosef at the age of 17 would be able to face the great challenges of avdus. But then Yosef is appointed as the viceroy of Mitzrayim. Now he has a whole new set of challenges, no longer the challenges of an Eved, because on the contrary, now he's the second in command, but he has also many, many challenges. And he needs, again, a Rebbe to train him and protect him from those impediments that he has to overcome. And then he needs Yaakov another 17 years, which he gets at the end of Yaakov's life. Okay, let's take a look once again at this diagram. So Yaakov nasa es Leah, v'yoldalo es Ruvain v'Shimon. So that Leah is the mother-in-law. Why? Why is she the mother-in-law? Because nasa Ruvain es Rachel. So Rachel is now the mother-in-law of Leah. V'yoldalo es Avraham. Okay, so now Ruvain marries Rachel, and they have a son named Avram. V'yoldu Leah the Rachel Kalasa, right? We said that Rachel was the daughter-in-law of Leah, Libal Lehen. So I think Libaleim here, that word means that Rachel is married to Reuven, and she has another child from Reuven. The first child just one second. The first child is Avram. We know who is the first child of the marriage relationship between Rachel and Reuven. We can identify. He's Avada. But now she has another child. So you see that line that if you look at Rachel, you move a drop to the left and then the line drops down. What that line is indicating is that Rachel and Reuven now have a second child. We just don't know who he is. He's the mixed up. That's the question marks that you'll see on the bottom. Now, Leah, in her marriage with Yaakov, had two sons, Reuven and Shimon. And now I think we're saying that she has a third son. So that's where that line on the left drops down from the arrow that connects Yaakov and Leah, and it drops down to these two question marks. So one of these question marks is a product of the relationship between Rachel and Reuven, Rachel, the daughter-in-law of Leah. The other suffix is a product of the relationship between Leah, the mother-in-law of Rachel, and Yaakov. I think that's how you would read this chart, this diagram. Now we go on. So those two X's, those question marks. Now they die. Oh, but first, wait, before they die, Nasa echad mehem es Sarah, the Hasheni Nasa es Rivka. Okay. Now here's where I got stuck. Let's see if we can plow through it together. Umesu bnei Taroves, which means the son of Rachel and Reuven and the son of Leah and Yaakov are mixed up together. We don't know which one is the son of which marriage. And Mesu below Bonnet. Now, here's where I got stuck. The Nafla Eshes Binam Shel Yaakov Leah. So there's Binam Shel Yaakov Leah, and there's Binam Shel Rachel and Reuven. And each one of them has a wife who's now an almana. And who do they fall for Yibum to? Lifnei Reuven v'Shimon, achiv liyibum. Let's see where Reuven and Shimon fit in. Reuven and Shimon are the children of Yaakov and Leah. Now, one of these two Spekos is also a child of Yaakov and Leah. The other suffix is a child of Rachel and Avram. Did I get that right? 1 second. Rachel and Reuven. Oh, right. And Rachel and Reuven. And they're now going to fall for Yibum. I guess he's referring to Sarah and Rivka in front of Reuven and Shimon. Why is that? Because one of them is the product of the marriage between Yaakov and Leah, and therefore he is a brother to Reuven and Shimon. The other one is a product of the marriage between Rachel and Reuven, and therefore, if I get this correct, he falls for Yibum to Avram. So we've got Reuven and Shimon are brothers of a Yibum situation to one of these fakers, and then we have Avram is a Yibum situation to one of these two brothers, the unknowns, right? These fakers. So Mesu b'nei Taroves below Bonim, Nafla Eshes Binam Shel Yaakov v'Leah, Lifnei Reuven v'Shimon achiv Yibu, the Eshes Binam Shel Reuven v'Rachel Nafla Lifnei Avram achiv Yibu, but we don't know which is which. Umikevan she'en yadua miu achem Shel Reuven v'Shimon, miu achem Shel Avram, Zkuko shteim Gam l'Reuven v'Shimon v'Gam l'Avram. Okay. Now we get to the solution to this problem, which again is very difficult to read. I would write a letter to the editor. I've said this many times. He writes, Hare Avram ben Hakala Rachel Okay, that makes sense. Which one fell for Yibum to him? Whether it's Sarah or Rivka. Maybe he doesn't have the option of Yibum. Lefisha achas mehem, he eshes achi aviv. And who is achi aviv? That's Reuven. Asur lov min Torah. He came into any Yodea mihu asu b'shteihem misafa. Okay, now achar shecholatz Avram l'shteihem hitir es. I would add the word isur yivamot l'shu. Yochel Shimon. Not sure why he's mentioning Shimon and not Reuven here. Okay, fine. Yochel Shimon ben Hazakeno Leah lachlotz oliyabem shteim shrei achas meni eshes achiv uzkukalol yibu vashnia he eshes ben achiv Reuven. Well, now I understand why he mentioned Shimon here, because he wants to explain that one of these two ladies, whether it's Sarah or Rivka, is what? Is Eshes ben Achiv. What does he mean by Eshes ben Achiv? Ben Achiv Reuven. 1 second. Reuven was married to Rachel. And from that marriage of Reuven to Rachel, there was a son born. We don't know which son that is. And again, who is the one who had to give chalitza to both of them? That was Avram. This? No. Yeah, Avram, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, is the one who has to give Yibum to both of them. Okay, fine. Avram gave chalitza to both of them. Now we're up to Shimon. Shimon is the Ben Hasken. He's the definite son of Lev. And we're not sure about Sarah and Rivka. One of them is Eshes Achiv. Why is that? Because one of them is a product of the relationship between Yaakov and Leah, the mother-in-law, right? So therefore, there definitely would be Yibum. Now, what's the status of the other one? The other one was born to Rachel and Reuven, which means the son of his brother, correct? Again, if we're focused on Shimon, wrong business is throwing me off for a loop. So the other suffix, right? So Sarah or Rivka, for that matter, is married to whom? To one suffix is the child of Yaakov and Leah. The other suffix is the child of whom? Of Rachel and Reuven. Did I get that right? The other suffix is the child of Rachel and Reuven. So what is that child? We don't know how to identify, but if we knew who he was, what would be his relationship to Shimon? It would be right, the almana of his nephew. Did I get that right?
Mhm.
Okay, the almana of his nephew. Ashnia he Eshes ben Achiv. Right, because Rachel and Reuven had another son that got mixed up besides Avram. So why Avram is in this picture, I don't have that clear. But oh yeah, Avram is the Ben Akal, definite Ben Akal. Which means that, since Rachel and Reuven had another son who's unidentified in this mixture, he would be the brother of Avram. Is that correct? That unidentified brother of Avram will now give chalitza to his wife. He'll give chalitza to the child of Yaakov and Leah, which again we can't identify, because that might be the wife of his brother. If it's not the wife of his brother, then she is what? She is the daughter. She's the marriage partner of who?
Of his uncle.
No, so why is that a problem?
We can't marry his uncle.
Okay, and now let's shift over to Shimon. How is Shimon able to marry the daughter, the almana of I just have to get this down. It's complicated because I'm looking too much at the dive. But the other suffix, what's his relationship to Shimon? Wait a second. There's one of these two sfekes is Shimon's brother, correct? Okay. The other suffix was born to who, if we could identify him, and he's not born to Yaakov and Leah.
Rachel and Reuven.
To Rachel and Reuven.
So it's his nephew. So it's either his brother or his nephew.
So what are we saying? You're allowed to marry the wife of your nephew, but you can't marry the wife of your uncle? Is that what's going on here?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the point that I didn't have. Does he spell that out here in the bottom? He says the following. Yochel Shimon ben Azkena Leah lachlotz oliyamim shtein. She'achas men yeshes achiv kukol yivu. Bashnia yeshes ben achiv. Reuven is ben achiv. One second. Reuven is achiv. Ben, what is this? Hashnia? He Ashes ben. What does that mean? Ashes ben achiv. Right. The other one. Achas meni Ashes achiv. Right, and Ashnia Ashes ben achiv. Ben achiv means that he is the product of what marriage? Of Rachel and Reuven?
Mm-hmm.
So if he's the product of Rachel and Reuven, then that's Ben Achiv of Shimon. You're allowed to marry the wife of Ben Achiv. Muteris. Avol Reuven atzmos li'admim sharei achas he awesome. Wait a minute, where did that come in? I thought we said it was his uncle's wife. Are you with me on this, Steve?
Well, are they saying, I think
Where do
there's,
we get colossal here?
aren't they saying that's why Ruvain can't be involved in this?
Right. But you said, and I agreed with you, that Ruvain's issue is the possibility that either Sarah or Rivka is the wife of his uncle.
No,
Is
that's
that-
for Abraham. For Ruvain, it's his daughter.
Oh, I see. Now if until now we've been discussing either Shimon or Avram. Now all of a sudden he wants to clear the air on Ruvain,
Right.
because as far as Sarah and Rivka are concerned, if we focus on Ruvain's situation, one of these two girls is his daughter-in-law. Now, how do we get that? Let's just see why it's his daughter-in-law. Because Ruvain is married to Rachel, and one of these two girls, Sarah Rivka, is married to his son, meaning married to Avram. Is that it? No, that doesn't make any sense.
Just married to the unknown, to one of the mix.
Unknown, but that unknown could be the product of relationship between Ruvain and Rachel. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so one of the this is what we have to write down. At least I have to write down. So one of the sfekis is the ben of Ruvain and Rachel. Is that correct? And the other suffix is the ben of who?
Yaakov and Leah.
Of Yaakov and Leah. Okay.
Is that the case? For Ruvain, one of them is his sister-in-law and one of them is his daughter. His sister-in-law would have been Uteres, but the daughter-in-law
Would be Yivo.
But he
That's
doesn't
why-
know which one. He can't be.
But wait a second, is he giving chalitza as well?
I don't think so. I think he's out of the picture.
Why?
I-
Can you explain that to me?
Because Shimon can actually do Yibum.
I see.
I think they don't want Ruvain involved.
So in other words, Shimon will decide on either Yibum or Chalitza, and then Ruvain is out of the picture.
Yeah.
In theory, Ruvain could also be a Yavam, right? Okay, so let's just understand for the last time, I need a chazor on this one point, and that is why Avram does not have an option of Yibum, because there could be a possibility, right, with regard to either Sarah or Rivka, that she would be what Avram? Avram, right? Because one of those fakes might have come from. Which one is the problematic one? Is the
The one
Ruvain
that
or
comes from
Rachel, or
Yaakov
the one of
and-
Yaakov and Leah? The
The one from Yaakov and Leah would be his uncle's wife,
Is
his aunt by marriage.
that something that you see here in the diagram, in the words that we read, or you have this maybe in the art scroll, or
No, I think it had it in the word.
yeah, which words? I just want to underline those words as we end the shiur today.
Right.
I apologize. I don't know any shortcuts here. I wish I could have made it easier, but it's really complicated. Maybe the art scroll has a simpler diagram. I don't know.
So it's right, Shachas, Mehem.
Well, which box should I be looking at? In other words, what is the first word in the box?
So then it's gonna be up above, right?
No, the one that mentions the uncle. Isn't it could be that last paragraph that's in dark letters? The
Right.
Harei Avram?
Right.
Okay. Hare Avram, who's the son of Rachel, Eni Odea, Mihu Eishes Ach. While if Isha Achas Mihen, oh, these are the key words. Achas Mehen, he Eishes Achi Aviv. Okay, so we're talking about Avram, and one of these two, whether it's Sarah or Rivka, is the wife of Achi Aviv. Let me just get that straight. Achi Aviv means she might be the marriage partner, the almana of Achi Aviv, which is like you said, his uncle, but she might be the product, don't tell me, of, I mean, when I say she, I mean her husband, right? Of the marriage relationship between Rachel, if it's from Reuven and Rachel, so Adarab, that's his brother. But it might be that he, right, he who passed away, is the product of the relationship between Yaakov and Leah. Now, since Avram is born to Rachel and Reuven, so that would make this fellow, into what? That's, she was married to the son of Yaakov and Leah. She's married to the son of Yaakov and Leah. And Avram is the son of Rachel and Reuven. Wait, what's the relation between Avram and Reuven? Is that an uncle-nephew relationship? No. Avram is the son of Reuven. And let's see, and a child of Yaakov and Leah is his uncle. And he's not allowed to marry the woman who's married to his uncle. Is that it? That's what we have. Okay. That's where we're going to stop for today.